breaking down Red Raider baseball like only we can. This is the Talkin Baseball podcast from Double T 97.3 and DoubleTSportsNetwork.com.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome into another episode of Talkin Baseball alongside Jamie Lent. I'm Chois Woodman. This podcast, as usual, brought to you by our friends at Andrews Brothers. Jamie, not the trip we hoped for in Chapel Hill, but you did test yourselves. We know that. Texas Tech goes and loses all three after having to shuffle games around. There's a lot of strangeness that goes with it. Not great weather to play baseball in, but you got opening weekend done. So lots to dive into in that. But I'll just kind of toss it up to you first. Thoughts on what you saw in the opening weekend?
Yeah, first off, I don't think the schedule change had any outcome or effect as far as the effect. I don't think it affected the outcome of the game. I think that,
Sure.
North Carolina played better than the Red Raiders this weekend, and
Pretty
you got to
simple.
tip your cap to them, and they definitely look worthy of their number 6 ranking heading into the season. So don't want to act like just because things got changed or because the weather was miserable that it affected who won those games. That was definitely not the case. Come out of the weekend feeling really good about your pitching staff. Going in, felt like you had a really good chance to be good on the mound this year, and almost every guy you ran out there, I felt like lived up to the billing, almost. So that was great to see. And then, man, there's 5 or 6 more guys that I think could be key guys, and you didn't even get to them.
Right.
You didn't even get to them. So, clearly this is a better pitching staff than what you had at the end of last season when you were so banged up, and you just hope that they can stay healthy. But I'm excited about a lot. I would guess you would call Lucas Perko the star of the weekend, maybe 5 1/3 innings. He gives up 1 run and strikes out 7. I thought he looked terrific. Man, that changeup was dominant against a good North Carolina team. So that was fun to watch. And then right behind him, JT Drake, I thought he gave you what we had seen from him in the fall and the spring. The junior right-hander who transferred from Pima Community College, he looked great. He looked calm, composed, all that out there on the mound. So I thought he threw it well also. It's hard to look at some of these Tech pitchers, and their lines, I feel like, they threw a lot better than their lines showed. You had some defensive miscues in the game, and
Unfortunately.
and that really cost you. Whether it was plays that ultimately called errors or not called errors, whatever, plays that got to be made, and you're not going to make all of them. You're not going to make all the tough ones, but you got to make some of the tough ones, and you got to make all the easy ones. And you didn't necessarily do that over the weekend in Chapel Hill, and a good team's going to take advantage of that, and that's what the Tar Heels did. Offensively, man, 206, not going to get it done as a team. 2 for 22 with runners in scoring position, not going to get it done as a team. But I will also I tell you, there's a reason that many around the country think North Carolina staff is going to be the best in the country.
Yeah.
It looked really good, okay? I don't know if it was way better than anybody else's across the country, but it was definitely better than what we had seen, over the last couple seasons.
So, we talked about it last week, Jamie, that North Carolina's pitching staff could be one of the best in the entire country, and they lived up to that billing. But now, how much of it do you put on that versus Texas Tech's offensive woes, where the concern is, or is it just baseball and we got to wait and see a few weeks before you even can judge things?
Yeah, no, I think it's a little bit of that, right? Because I do think North Carolina is really good, and I still, from what we saw in the fall and the spring, I think you've got a lot of talent in your lineup as well. And so I'm not ready to everything's magnified the first week of the season, right?
Of course, yeah.
And so
because we're anticipating, we're ready for it, and whether you do something really good or you do something poorly, it does get magnified. Yeah,
and so I just feel like you got to see more of the body of the work before you're certain of anything. So, the Red Raiders have to be better on offense. They have to create more havoc on the base paths, all those things. Guys that I felt good about. Obviously Damian Bravo had a good weekend, 4 for 11 with a homer. He had both of the hits with runners in scoring position. He was one of the better hitters on your team last year, and he looks like he's going to be that way again. TJ Pompey had 3 hits, a couple of walks as well, and Obviously hit 2 lasers out on Friday, one to left, one to right.
Yeah.
So Pompey was good with the bat as well. I thought after game 1, the 2 guys at the top of the lineup, Antonelli Salvatore and also Kyler Thompson, really settled in and really battled at the plate and found ways to get on base. And I'm super excited about the 2 of them, what they can do. It felt like Logan Hughes had some tough luck. I mean, he's robbed of a home run. He hit a line shot right at the left fielder, hit another ball hard at the second baseman. So those balls some of those are going to drop in, and those things are going to even out a little bit. So, thought you'd get more from the first base position, specifically Robin Villeneuve and Peyton Schultz, and you only got 1 hit and a couple of walks. Those all came from Villeneuve. And so you're hoping you get a little bit more from that combination of those 2 guys.
Yep.
But overall, I want to see more of the body of work. But I think it's fair for, when you had a year like you had last year, specifically with the hitting and runners in scoring position, and then you see what it was this weekend, and you're like, okay, I'm worried we're going to be the same way. I get it. You just gotta wait to see what happens the rest of the way here, and not jump to conclusions.
So how much shuffling do you think we see lineup-wise in particular going towards next week? We'll preview next week in a moment, but how much change is there? Is it just still we're sifting through things, or do you see that DH spot used a little bit more in a rotation? What do you think there?
Yeah, no, I don't think I expect much change at all.
Okay.
I really do not. We'll have to see. Somebody grabs one of those jobs and holds on to it and takes the platoon position away, maybe. I don't know, but I don't expect to see much change from that. I mean, the one guy who probably struggled the most, he was 0 for until his last at-bat, was Tracer Lopez, and he by far is your best shortstop, so I don't think you're messing with anything there.
Sure.
I guess Peyton Schultz would be another guy that you felt like he really struggled in his 5 at-bats, but, trying to figure out exactly whether he's going to play first or second or DH or whatever. We'll see what Coach Tadlock elects to do there, but I think that's a dude that's going to hit. I really do. He has in the fall. He has in the spring. He did it at Cal last year where he had 10 homers and hit 328. This guy can hit. So it was just one bad weekend, and I think he ultimately is going to end up being a big factor for you.
It wasn't just Texas Tech, though, that struggled this weekend. Other teams that were projected towards the top of the conference also that played good competition also struggled. Arizona goes 0-3. Oklahoma State goes 1-2 in Arlington. These are teams that tested themselves a little bit. So I think most people listening or watching this podcast are baseball fans and won't panic after 3 games. But I think that does show you, okay, we've still got a long season to go.
Yeah, and not a great weekend for the Big 12 Conference,
No,
though,
it's
right?
not.
Because
No.
you've got Arizona and you have Oklahoma State and you have Texas Tech matching up with a bunch of ranked teams.
Yeah.
And you didn't end up getting a bunch of ranked wins. As a matter of fact, you didn't get any between those 3.
None.
Okay? And so, Oklahoma State had 2 opportunities. They lost both of those games. Arizona had 2 opportunities. They lost both of those games. Red Raiders lost all 3 of theirs. Okay?
Yes.
So you need those teams to do well to help your RPI and all that good stuff. You had a bunch of teams go 3-0, but again, Baylor goes 3-0, and because they beat down Youngstown State at home, and no offense to Baylor, good job. They played well, and they deserve to win those 3 games. When the folks at Baylor and the Bear fans are like, hey, man, that was a good start to the season. We're doing good. Nothing to be concerned about here. Well, It's a different deal when you go on the road and play the number 6 team in the country, or you go to Arlington and you play 3 ranked teams or whatever. It's a different deal. And so, anyway, the competition factors into these things, and teams that are good know they can challenge against good competition.
Sure.
Okay? Now, you'd like to get some of those wins.
Of course.
And those 3 teams did not. Okay? But I still think that you've got some good teams there that we're talking about, the Arizonas and Tech and Oklahoma State. They're going to be at the top of the Big 12 Conference. You can throw TCU into the mix there as well.
Now, you can't, be picky when it comes to scheduling because it all is difficult to get certain teams to come here or there or get the better ones. But would you like to see Tech wait to test themselves maybe a couple of weeks deep? Because we have seen Tech struggle when they've got the first week competition going up against the tougher teams. Would you kind of want to see them ease in, if possible, against an easier competition and then play a second week maybe in Chapel Hill? Again, I mean, these are hypotheticals because you can't pick it.
Yeah, I think there's probably could be something to gain from that, right? Yeah. Because you get a bunch of guys out there and you get a little bit more comfortable. I mean, for example, you look at like a Jackson Burns who started on Saturday and he looked like the moment that first time out there in a Division I game just got a little bit, you could probably the heart rate was really going there. And Jackson, who's got great stuff, and I think is going to be a great pitcher for this team this season, just it caught up with him a little bit, right?
It did. And looks like a freshman with big old saucer eyes.
Yeah. So maybe if he had pitched once the previous week against Maine or Northeastern, whatever,
Gardner Webb,
whatever, you'd have had a better chance. But I don't know. I like challenging your team.
I agree.
I like getting yourself ready for Big 12 play. I like going on the road and getting those RPI points and all those things. And it just is from the entertainment standpoint of it.
Of course,
I like that as well. So, you're not trying to have the best record. You're trying to get yourself ready in non-conference play to compete when it comes to Big 12 time, put yourself in a position to win a Big 12 championship, put yourself in a position to host regionals and possibly super regionals. Sure. And to do that, you got to play good team to get those RPI points.
And no slouch coming into Lubbock this next week. We'll preview that coming up, but first a word from our friends at Andrews Brothers.
When you want the brand in West Texas roofing, there's only one company to call, Andrus Brothers Roofing. Like our Red Raiders, Andrus Brothers knows that to win, you have to be better than your competition and you have to dominate in all phases. With over 40 years experience, Andrus Brothers has mastered these concepts. So when the high winds and debris damage your roof, there's only one company to call, Andrus Brothers Roofing. Accept no substitutes. Stick with the starters on the ABR winning team. Andrus Brothers Roofing, we nail it every time.
Okay, Jamie, I mean, it may be a directional school, a California fill-in-the-blank. It's UC Irvine, a team that's been to Omaha in recent history, a team that is known for their baseball. So it's not a Gardner Webb. It's not a Northeastern that's coming into town for your home opener. This is another good test for the Red Raiders.
Yeah, as a team was in the postseason last year and has spent a lot of time in the postseason. It was in Omaha one of the years with the Red Raiders. Yep. Okay, so they're a really good baseball team. They right now, when we record this podcast on Monday, they're 2-1. They'll play USC on Tuesday.
Right.
And then they'll come to Lubbock after that. They already have a ranked win over Nebraska on opening day. That's obviously a huge win. Then they beat and they beat New Mexico. And then in their third game, they took their first loss again against a ranked team in Vanderbilt and fell by a run.
Yeah.
And Vanderbilt's ranked 16th. So this is a good baseball team. They bring a lot back. They've got a first baseman that was a Team USA guy, All-American candidate. Probably not going to see the level of pitching that you just saw in Chapel Hill, but they've got plenty of it.
Right.
And so this is not okay, last weekend was tough. We got this get right weekend against UC Irvine. Yeah, you better get right Monday through Thursday, or you're going to take some more L's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So this is a good baseball team, and it's your only home non-conference weekend series. And so Red Raiders know these are three big games for them.
Yeah, they're huge, obviously, and you have to win the series. I mean, that's you don't want to put must-wins this early in the season, but it's at home. You play well at home historically here. You need to go beat a good team, and this, while it's not as much of an RPI builder as a ranked team on the road, this should be an RPI builder later in the season for you.
Absolutely, and that's all part of the plan from Coach Tadlock.
Sure.
Right?
So,
and then next weekend you're going to go to Vegas, and you're going to play a team that won the Big Ten last year. You're going to play the Longhorns. And then you're going to play a Washington team that just put it on Kansas State in opening day. So it's and then the next weekend you're going to go to Grand Canyon, team that played in the regional final last year. They swept you the last time you went there. That's another ranked team. I mean, it just keeps coming.
Is this the toughest schedule, at least non-conference wise, that we've seen under Tim Tadlock?
That's the toughest I can remember.
I don't remember one, because you just don't seem to have the Texas Southern or someone in there
There's a
that you're going
UC
to
San
beat.
Diego coming up for some midweeks here in a few weeks, but there's just not a lot of taking a breath.
Yeah. So
You are going to
it's
be
fun.
battle tested when you get to that first Big 12 weekend of the season. Oh, by the way, on the road again when you go to Houston.
Yeah. UC San Diego. Is that where Beltre's kid plays? Adrian Bel? No, I think he plays for San Diego. There's two different ones. Anyway, you've got a bunch of opportunities to get right, but you've got to go take it. I mean, it's not going to be given to you over the next few weeks. So, what do you want to see if you're putting on your Tim Tadlock britches, Jamie, that number 6 on your back? If you're talking to this team, what needs to improve the most from week 1 to week 2 this weekend?
Well, I think the thing you want to see more than anything is just to play clean baseball.
Yeah.
Okay, and
exactly
specifically on defense, you got to make the simple plays. And again, I think a couple of them that weren't made weren't simple.
Yeah.
I think they were tough plays, but you got to make some of them, and you didn't. And you, there's going to be tough balls and bad hops and short hops and all that. And you're going to have to live with that because that's baseball. It's going to happen. There's going to be some bad luck there. At the same time, you got to make some of those plays, and you got to help out your pitchers because I think you have a chance to be really good on the mound.
Sure.
Okay, and if these guys are making big pitches and getting ground balls, you got to turn those into outs. So that's the first thing with me. I think playing at home probably will relax the offense a little bit, and you'll see that offense get going. I mean, it's hard playing from behind the whole time too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a different mindset,
Absolutely.
a different pressure that's on you. The Red Raiders had one lead on Saturday, and that was after the top of the first, but you immediately come back and give up three the next inning.
Yep.
And so, anyway, that's to me, getting a lead, playing better defense. Those I'm at this point not that worried about the offense. I think you'll be fine there. Those first two things are what I would love to see this upcoming weekend.
What about starting pitching? Did you like what you saw there from the? Obviously, Saturday wasn't ideal, but from the starting pitching overall this past weekend?
Yeah, I did. Again, the numbers aren't as good as they should be because of the plays not made behind them. But, yeah, I don't think you touch Siebert, who he's got that veteran presence to him.
Yeah.
He's not going to just blow anybody away, but he's going to compete. And I think it'll get you through 5 and 6 a lot of times and give you a chance to win. I think Hewer, he made one bad pitch, a 2-out double, and otherwise his line is really good, and so I think Hewer is fine. But I guess the big question, after the weekend is does Lucas Perko move into the starting rotation?
I mean, he was basically your starter on Saturday. Had to come in after just
2 outs.
2 outs in the first.
And goes 5 1/3, and boy, his changeup was terrific this weekend. So, he feels like he's earned the right to be in that conversation at least. Maybe Coach Tadlock at the same time feels like, hey, we really like Jackson Burns. We don't want to yank him after one start. We want to give him a chance to settle in a little bit, and so you don't make a change. And I would totally understand that as well.
You really don't want to mess with the freshman psyche there. So,
I mean, you could go two ways with that, though, right? Because maybe you feel like, hey, let's put him in an easier spot.
Possibly, yeah. Sure.
And maybe there's not as much pressure on him, and then he can get the confidence and feel more relaxed. But maybe at the other way, you're like, hey, we don't want the kid to think we're bailing on him.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you just gotta figure that out.
Now, the real question everybody wants to know is, how does Jamie Lent feel about Lucas Perko's hat?
Okay. So the hat game on Saturday was interesting to me because you went from Perko to JT Drake. Okay, and Perko, one game into the season, you could tell that the sweat stains were legit.
Oh my goodness! Okay. Like he's wearing a white hat and everybody else is wearing a black one.
Hat. Yeah. Okay. So I'm hoping that throughout the course of the year we'll get him a new one or spray paint that one. I don't know. Just get some clothing black dye. I don't know. Whatever. I don't know. But it was interesting. I mean, like, how does one game into the season sweat that much?
I'm guessing he's held on to that one since the fall.
Obviously, they've been practicing for a while, so yeah. And then you had JT Drake, who after every pitch had to reach up and put his hat back on because it was
'Cause it's
popping off.
yeah.
He's got a healthy head of lettuce going on there. And so he just had to keep pushing it on, which is normally something you see from a left-hander.
Yeah.
But Drake is a right-hander. He had to keep putting it on. After every pitch, he had to put it on. And then there was an attempted bunt at one point, and he took off running for it, and the hat fell off. And so I don't know if they need to get him a chin strap or what, but
Maybe just a tighter hat.
JT's clearly, he's multitasking out there. He's doing everything he can to get outs and keep a hat on, which can't be the easiest thing.
It's impressive, though. It's
Yeah.
impressive. So one thing, as we record this, the game Friday night is scheduled for an evening game against UC Irvine, but it's supposed to be really cold. There is a chance, I assume, that this game could be moved up, so just stay tuned to Double T 97.3.
Could be moved to a day game, or the weather's like 20 degrees warmer
Warmer
the
on
next
Saturday,
day.
so.
Could possibly be a doubleheader.
So wherever it will be, we will have all 3 games for you on the Double T Sports Network. So make sure you tune in on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with hopefully some wins. Hopefully some wins.
That's the
We get to
plan.
see- Yeah, that's the plan.
That's the plan.
And
Hey,
we get to say
it's a-
anteaters this weekend.
We do, and
That's always fun.
with Antonelli Sabateri at
Oh,
the
yeah.
plate, you can say ant hits against the anteaters. So
Let's go.
yeah, I'm a fan of all of that.
Yes, sir. That'll do it for us. Appreciate you tuning in again. Hopefully, a little bit more of a happy podcast next time around, as maybe we get to talk about some Red Raider wins next time. For Jamie Lent, I'm Chois Woodman. It's been Talkin Baseball, part of the Double T Sports Network.
Breaking down Red Raider baseball like only we can. This is the Talkin Baseball podcast from Double T 97.3 and DoubleTSportsNetwork.com.